So yesterday we concluded this point. Self-esteem is a positive trait for our self-development. It is essentially self-evaluation leading to knowing the self-worth, and it creates self-confidence. The expression of that is self-respect, self-love, whereby an individual is able to stand for certain principles, create certain boundaries, values, and appreciates this same thing with the people around oneself. This is, according to the spiritual parlance, it is the sattva aspect of a personality. While this being so, an individual who pretentiously lives with this wrong pride about oneself, which is high self-esteem, which is not reality, is also ego. While considering oneself as a victim of life, considering oneself as useless, worthless, does not have proper values, going by the trend, influenced by others, weak, vulnerable, depressed, is also ego. That is of a lower self-esteem. In Gita, it is said a higher self-esteem is called rajas, and the lower self-esteem is tamas. But the proper, correct evaluation of oneself and knowing what is to be done and what one's worth is, that is sattva. One may ask this question, as one of you asked this, for enlightenment, for liberation, do we need to go through all these things? No, not necessarily. But a person of sattva who has the proper self-esteem can easily transcend it. It is possible for such an individual to sit quietly for meditation, quieten the mind, pray, and go beyond. While a person of high self-esteem and low self-esteem is incapable of doing that. Now, what is that? Let us define ego now. Is it ever-growing obsession about oneself? I read somewhere, the statement of ego is, I love you, I love me. I love me. That is the expression of ego. Let us see here. There are various definitions of ego we find, more or less the same. I told you to read the first two chapters of the book. How many of you did that? Very few. What happened to the rest? You didn't have the book? Swamiji, I kept it for sleeping. You know, they in the many of the hotels they keep Bible or any of this heavy book. You know why? If you can't sleep, open that. As you're going through it, definitely you will go to sleep. If you can't, just put it under the pillow, raise the pillow, go to sleep. That's what most people do. But don't use the book for that purpose. So in that first few chapters you will find this. Ego, according to Gurudev, is a shadow of yourself. Interestingly, wherever you go, your shadow follows you, right? You are the real, and the shadow is an unreal existence. It is there. You will face your shadow when? When do you face your shadow? Quick.
Sun is behind you.
Good. You face your shadow only when light is behind you. If the light is in front of you, you know shadow. That's called enlightenment. Enlighten. So when you When the light is in front of you, the shadow is behind you. When the light is behind you, shadow is in front of you. So, not that great people, Mahatmas and great saints, they don't have ego. They do. That's behind them. Just following them. Whereas in our case, right in front of us, because we are facing away from the light. That's one thing. Second, Tejumayanji says, ego is an image born of some form of identification with something other than one's own self. The nature of ego is identification. Our identifications are various kinds. To begin with, we identify with our own physical body. This is me. Interestingly, I ask you a question. Let me know what your answer is. Is it anybody told you since your birth that you are the body? Did anybody tell you? You are the body. You are the body. Is it not our own assumption? Anybody told you that you are the body? Has it been told in your school or anywhere, your parents told you that you are the body? Understand, you are the body. Nobody told us. And why do you assume? Not that the body is not there, body is. But I am not the body. This is a very hard thing to understand. Much less we can practice this. I am not the body, I have the body. Are you your car which you drive? If you think you are the car, then that is called ahamkar. The ego. You're not your car, you use your car, you have a car, you use it. And once the car is, where you want to go, you finish, you park it and go. But this physical body is the car which we constantly go with, and then we can never discard and say, this is not me. And only thing when you do that is when you go to sleep. Right? Some of you are there now, but doesn't matter. But only time when I discard my body and say, I have nothing to do with this, is when you sleep. And that's why you find yourself very peaceful at that time, right? A sound sleep. Sleep for yourself, sound for others. It's called sound sleep. So when you have a very pleasant or very deep sleep, and when you get up, you feel so refreshed. Why? Body-related identifications are absent. You don't even know how you are sleeping. Do you put makeup before you sleep? I hope not. First foundation, second foundation, third foundation. Because you don't care how you look. When you sleep, do you mind? Do you care how you look? No. You don't even know that what condition you are. You might have seen if you have traveled in Bombay somewhere in a train. They will standing, they sleep. You don't care. So this physical body, when you discard in the state of sleep, and you are supremely peaceful. So all body-related identifications are absent in your sleep. Look at a small child, say year-old or so. It doesn't care. It doesn't even care whether it wears a dress or not. Just moves around. Why? Idea that I am the body is not there. Only the mother is so careful. Put this. And even when the child goes out and then plays in the ground, then with all dirt it comes, mother is the one who's cleans up and all that. That child doesn't care. Why? Because the idea that I am the body is not there, the child. And that's the reason why when you see a small child, a few months old, etc., you feel so happy about it because the child doesn't have ego. And in front of that child which does not have ego, you lose your ego. You make faces which you won't do to others. Right? May face like a monkey or and all. The child also wonders, what happened to this person? But it doesn't judge you, right? It laughs with you. You don't care. And see, in front of a person who has no ego, you lose your ego. There is no clash between you and that person. Why? Because you don't have boundaries there. But if you have created a boundary of yourself, then nobody can penetrate into that. So a child which does not have a sense of I am this is most beautiful, most joyful. A dog, for example, if you have a dog as a pet, you just feel so happy with that dog because it doesn't say that I am so and so. In fact, it waits for you at the door and he's coming, scratching. As soon as you walk in, jumps, you have come. Nobody else does in your home. And it makes you feel how much you are lovable, right? How much you are lovable, you feel that you are a lovable person. Whatever you are, it doesn't care. How you look, it doesn't care. So ego is that very strong the moment you identify with, especially with the body. So the body is the first fort of the ego, where it survives, it lives. And with that as a boundary, that as its fort, that as its, fighting, fort, it starts the fight. It starts the battle. So, deha abhimana, meaning body is me. Abhiman is the nature of ego, the identification. And unfortunately, as we grow up, our identification of the body only grows. It never stops. Physical body, I am, is a strongly growing, trend or strongly growing behavior of all of us. As we grow more and more, we become more and more conscious about ourselves, about our body. All the images and we create about ourselves, and as you become a celebrity, you have image managers, image consultants. There are Hollywood actors, etc., and politicians and celebrities, they have image consultants, how to keep your image, in the mind of the people. Anyway, so the body is the first fort of this ego. An identification with something other than one's own self. So, I'm not saying there is no body, but saying that I am not the body. I have the body. I have the body. I take care of it. I give its sustenance. I feed it. But often, you should recognize, this is a tool. This is a vehicle I'm carrying with me. It helps me, no doubt, but that's not me. False identification created by unconscious identification with the mind. Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle says, Eckhart Tolle or Tolle? Tolle, right? Is it Maharashtrian? Anyway, that's Eckhart Tolle. So he says it is a false identification with the mind. The second important fort of the ego is me and my thoughts are one and the same. I am my thoughts. I am my feelings. I am my emotions. We just cannot see our thoughts independent of ourselves. If I have a thought in my mind, it looks like I have to do something about it. How many of you want Starbucks coffee now? So immediately some people have raised their hand. Now I put that thought in your head. Then at the end of the class, Swamiji, are you serious? You're going to give me some coffee? So see, we cannot see the thought arising and let it go. The moment the thought arises, immediately I own it. I give reality. I give importance. And then that thought takes over. If somebody said something and you're angry about it, you have anger. I don't mind that. But you don't become angry. Becomes you and anger become one and the same. If you're walking in the road and then somebody calls, "Hey, fool, come here." What do you say? What do you do? If you respond, you prove it to be one. "Hey, fool, come here." How dare you call me? Who called you? I said, "Fool, are you?" So why do we therefore identify with thoughts and suffer? This is where the discrimination has to start. I have my thoughts. I am not my thoughts. And I can choose to go with the thought or not. That choice is mine. If you lose that choice, ego takes over. Or when your ego takes over, you lose your choice. I have thoughts. So many thoughts are going on in my mind. I don't need to act upon each one of them. I don't need to. But invariably I do. Any thought that comes to my mind, I become restless. I have to do something about it. You don't need to. So false identification with the mind, with the thoughts, according to Eckhart Tolle, that is ego. So Gurudev calls it as a shadow. Guruji says it is identification, especially happens with the body. Eckhart Tolle says it is the mind, the thoughts. Ego is an illusion like the reflection in the mirror, a reverse image of yourself and I. Meaning, it is a reverse of yours. What you really are, you're seeing just the opposite. According to Vedanta, you are Sat, Chit and Ananda. Not sad Chit Ananda, okay? Sat. Some people call, I have a sad guru. Instead of Sadguru, in English you write sad guru. It's not sad guru. If your guru is sad, you please don't go to him. It's like when you go to a doctor, right? You go to a doctor to consult something and that fellow says, come on. What's your problem? You don't feel like going to that person again. Or you go to a dentist and he smiles, no teeth at all. You won't go to him. So the guru must be happy for no reason. Then it is worth going to that person, asking him a question. So Sat Chit Anand, what does it mean? You exist, you are awareness, you are blissful. That is your nature. You are forever eternal. You are awarefully, consciously existing, and you are of the nature of bliss. This is, according to our Hinduism, this is the nature of God, and that's what you are. You know, I went to one interfaith program where it was conducted for the 11th and 12th graders in a school in California. I went there and there were Christians, representatives and Muslim, Islam and then Judaism and Buddhism. And there was one atheist also. He said that I believe in not believing. Okay. So we were discussing on some topics and then one thing came, this he's a lawyer, this atheist. He got up and said, I don't believe in existence of God. Because you all refer to Rama or Buddha or Krishna or Christ, all those things, they are of the past. Where is God now? Why doesn't he appear right now, here? Why do we refer to somebody somewhere? I don't believe in existence of God. He doesn't exist. So the Christian father got up and very angry he was. How do you say that? Bible says he exists. He created the world and this and that. And then the Islamic guy also said something. Buddhist guy didn't say anything because he doesn't believe in God anyway. So the term came to me and then I got up. And one girl was there in front of me and said, "What's your name?" She said, "I'm Rosie." "Oh, Rosie, nice to have you. Now, do you exist?" She said, "What do you mean? Are you there?" "Of course I am there." "What are you asking?" "I'm there." I said, "Prove." "Prove what?" "That you exist." You see me." So I asked her, "Because all of us see you, therefore you exist? Do you exist because we all see you?" Yes or so? Yes or not? Do you get up in the morning and look at your, I exist now? Do you have to see yourself in a mirror to know that you exist? Or you call out your mom, "Do I exist?" Your existence need not be proved by anybody. I don't need to ask somebody whether I exist or not. Do I have to pinch myself? Do I exist? So she said, "I don't need to prove. I know I exist." Good. Are you happy? Are you happy? Prove. Smiling is no proof too. Even a air hostess smiles when you get into the flight. It doesn't mean she's happy that you came. How do you prove that you're happy? Prove. Jump? Run around? How do you prove that you're happy? Do somebody has to tell you that you're happy? My happiness, I know it. And this happiness is not something which somebody has to prove it to me, number one. And I ask you this question, why you want to be happy? Because I don't want to be unhappy. That is not an answer to this. Why you don't want to be unhappy? Because I want to be happy. That's the endless argument. Why you want to be happy? Any reason? It has no reason because your nature is happiness. Whenever you are unhappy, you are unhappy. You are restless. You want to get back to happiness. When you are angry, are you happy about it? I'm so happy, I'm so angry, I'm so happy about it. You are not. That's why you throw your anger. So whenever I am unhappy, I am not with myself. I am not at ease. I am not at rest. So my nature it's like water. When you boil it, it goes to a higher temperature. When you leave it itself, it will come back to its, less than the room temperature. Why? But its nature is cool. In the same way, my nature is happiness, and therefore whenever I am taken away from it, I struggle back to come back to that condition. In the state of sleep, I am so peaceful because that my unhappiness is undisturbed by anything outside. So the nature of that, so that I told this the audience there, so you are existence, and existence is God. It is not God need to be proved as existence. God doesn't exist. Existence is God. This is Hinduism. Sat, it is. So my nature, whether I have the body or not, even if physically I die, I exist, I am. That's what Christ said, I am that I am. How many of them at that time understood? God alone knows. He said, I am that I am. Yeah, that's his statement. I am that I am. This in Vedas it is said, Aham Brahmasmi. I am. So that existence need not be physical existence. Because even in sleep you exist without even knowing that you exist. Meaning you don't know that physically you exist or not. It's not because you have thoughts, therefore you exist. No. It is a Western philosophy which says, I think, therefore I am. It's just the opposite of the Eastern thought. I am, therefore I think. It's not because you think, therefore you are. In sleep, you don't think. Don't you exist? There are many people thoughtlessly existing. They don't exist. They do. So, therefore, it is not because I have thoughts, therefore I exist. I have physical body, therefore I exist. Or I emote, therefore I exist. No. Your existence is independent of physical body's existence, whether you have thought and emotions or not. That's a Sat. But you always aware of your existence. That is called Chit. I'm aware. I'll come to that a little later. I am aware. And I am happiness. Not I want happiness, I seek happiness. I am happiness. Because the opposite of happiness, I feel restless. I'm not with myself. You see? That's why in the Upanishad it is said, Sat Chit Ananda. This is you. Tat Tvam Asi. That is what you are. That is God. And ego is just the opposite of it. Just imagine. Ego, what it says, unless you physically exist, unless there is physical existence, I'm afraid, I don't exist. That's why we fear death. Ego fears death. Ego fears physical non-existence. Ego fears to be ignored. Awareness, opposite of awareness. Ego fears unhappiness. And it actually, ego fears unhappiness in such a way that it creates unhappiness all the time for itself. And is afraid of its own existence. So ego is an image you create yourself, just the opposite of who you are. I am Sat, I am existence, but ego says you are subject to death. I'm afraid. I am awareness, ego is insulted by ignorance. It survives in ignorance and it is afraid of being ignored. And ego constantly creates unhappiness around itself. A man of ego is not at ease with himself. So it's just an opposite of who you are, an image, just like a reflection on the mirror. So you recognize your ego. First thing is, ego needs audience. It's interesting. If a man of ego, a person of ego, has to express and want somebody to know it. Ego wants somebody to appreciate itself. Ego needs the audience all the time. And that's why people of ego constantly talk about themselves. And for talking about themselves, they need somebody to listen. I did this. I did this. I did this. Well, I'm great. Oh, I did. I went there. I did this. I'm happy. Constantly it has to strengthen itself. And if nobody is listening, it's very unhappy. You've seen small children, left to themselves, suddenly they will cry. Somebody has to pick it up. So that is feeling of insecurity. So also with the ego. If nobody bothers about it, it will feel very hurt. That's why a man of ego cannot be in solitude. He's afraid. A person of ego cannot meditate because you are trying to kill it. You're trying to kill its existence. It needs to be heard. It needs to be listened to. Constantly. So people who constantly talk about this or that, and see, like for example, CNN and other such crime news network, such other channels, 24 hours they keep talking. Why? Well, otherwise nobody will watch. They have to say something or the other all the time. Anytime you put on the TV, is it not something is going on? Why? Why a TV channel has to be there for 24 hours? Tell me. 7 days, 24 hours a day, continuously on. Why it is so? Survival. If you have only 1 hour a day, nobody will watch. Constantly something has to go on. Some sensational news, some happening there, something is happening here, something. If nothing is happening next door neighborhood, there is a tree fell down, and they'll keep a picture of that. It fell down. Something or the other they have to say. And so is also with ego. It has to constantly keep on blabbering. Just watch yourself when you are walking out after this program. It'll keep commentary on. I think she's not wearing the dress correctly. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think I look good better than her. I think it is too hot nowadays. I said, last time when I came, it was not that hot. It's very cold. Why is this garden is not maintained properly? I think a lot of leaves there. It's constantly going on. Is it not true? Have you ever seen your mind not talking? Even now it's talking. What is this, Swamiji? Unnecessarily talking too much. There is a commentary going on and on in the background. Is it not true? Constant. It's called Jalpa. Some people keep the name Jalpa also. Jalpa means constant blabbering. In Sanskrit, Jalpati means it's constant talk. The mind remains constantly chanchal, restless. Krishna was asked this question by Arjuna. Chanchalam hi manak Krishna pramadi bhalavatradam tasyaha nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Oh Lord, my mind is so restless, chanchalam. And it is so strong and adamant and difficult to control like a wind. Wind cannot be controlled or held at one point because it will move. That's the nature of the wind, is to move. So I am finding it difficult to control my mind. Oh Krishna, what do I do? The nature of Krishna is first of all accept you. He would not say, what are you stupid, you are talking. No, he smiles and said, Asamshayam mahabaho chanchalam hi manaha. Asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam. Yes, I understand, Arjuna. Mind is restless and it is difficult to control. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena ja grihyate. Practice. Practice to quieten the mind. It is possible. Let go. Vairagya. So don't hold on to things. When you hold on to something, it will start becoming more agitated. So, ego's nature is to express through the mind a constant commentary. It needs audience. You are the audience. It keeps talking. It seeks to be noticed. It wants some kind of attention from others. That's why you put the nose ring not only here, they put here, they put here, they put here. Yeah. Why? It's one place, you just put it here, no? Everywhere possible places you put. And color black here and blue and red and green. Why do that? Because I want to be noticed, right? Am I wrong in saying so? Yes or no? Why people do some weird thing like that? Tell me, I don't know, I didn't understand at all. Why? Want to be noticed, right? Look different. I want to look different. Why you want to look different? I should be noticed. I should be recognized. I should stand out in the crowd. I do, of course, I do stand out in the crowd. You may call that I'm weird, yes, definitely. So once I was coming from Toronto on October 30th. So, one girl in the airport, she's pulled the mom's, Mom, I like that costume, Mom. So I look a little different. Not that I want to look different. So do you call me weird? Weirdo? But the people do some peculiar things to stand out in the crowd. Why? Lack of identification. Sense of identity is lost. Real sense of identity is lost. Not identification with respect to this I'm talking about. They want to be noticed. They want to stand out. So ego seeks to be noticed. So if you are doing well in your own profession or whatever your skills are, that's different. That is a skill that you develop and want to excel in that. Yes, that's also a way of standing out. But here it is not that. Doing something odd, which captures the attention of everybody. That kind of seeking attention is what is called ego. Do you agree? You need not agree, but we'll see that. If you don't agree, you ask me the question. Ego sustains by external conditions. By possessing, by owning, it feels itself strong. Car, the house, and other things. Is it? Samsung Galaxy 3. 3 or 4? 4. Okay, 4. Right? Nowadays they wear the Google goggle. Then I look at you. Cling, it takes a picture of yours. Then I know everything about you. So nowadays they are coming up with that thing. That's the latest trend. So I want to possess, to own what you don't have. If you also have, I feel very disappointed. If I have what you have, if I have is what you have, the ego suddenly feels defeated. I want to have something which you don't have and you cannot have. And that's why people, when they go to some exotic places, they buy things to show off to people, you don't have it, I have it. Especially I bought it from Bali, from Bangkok. Noticing people, put all their kind of things in their display. They buy some exotic books also on various things. I tell the people, you buy books and never read it. Therefore, it becomes shelf knowledge. Not self-knowledge. Shelf. It looks nice in my shelf. Hey, read that book. That's later, but now it looks nice. Nowadays they have books, it appears like book, there is nothing there. Have you seen that? That's what I mean. Just to make it appear that I am reading a lot of books. So by possessing things, by owning up things, it feels strong. It sustains by external conditions. It looks for differences. Ego is that which survives in differentiating itself from others. It looks for what is variety. It looks for something which out of ordinary, therefore, it constantly looks for what is different, what is different, what is there, what is not there. So in variety, it finds its sustenance, and in unity, it loses itself. For example, when you have a friend and you both have the same interests or same value, same liking, about that you have no ego. But when I like something, you don't like it, or what you like, I don't like, the ego survives there. You understand? When what I like is what you like, then there is no ego about it. My opinion is different from your opinion. There the ego laughs. I'm fine now. That is where I'm feeling happy about. So ego looks for differences. It doesn't tolerate unity. And all our Upanishad statements and the scriptures are all about finding unity, which means ego has to die. In absence of difference, ego dies. Gurudev used to say, more the difference, less the love. More love, less differences. When the differences are more, love is thin. When the love is strong, differences are less. In unity, ego dies. You came here to die? Only Australians come to die, you know that? If you go, one person, when Gurudev was conducting a camp, and one Australian came to the camp, and then Gurudev asked, "Hey, how are you? When did you come?" He said, "Swamiji, I came to die." Gurudev smiled and said, "Why you came all the way from Australia to die?" "No, I came to die." Meaning today. They say to die. So you all came to die? Anyway. So in unity, ego dies. It cannot survive. So if you are really in love with someone or something, between you and that person or a thing, there should not be any difference. If there is a difference, really speaking, that ego will survive there. And more differences you keep between you and the other person, the ego will make sure that you finally separate yourself. Okay. Ego grows in comparison and competition. Jealousy, competitiveness, all these are the nature of ego. It wants to compete and win. No doubt a winning spirit is good, but not as a revenge or intolerance about the other person. When you go out for a game, when you go for any competition, no doubt you have to prove yourself who you are. But we always do it in the form of, I'm better than the other person. That's not necessary. You prove yourself. Not necessarily looking down upon others. You prove your worth, and somebody else proves better than you, obviously you have to accept that I am not up to the mark. But often what we do is, as it is happening in India, match fixing. You fix the match before even it starts. You don't play well, I play well, and half the money I'll give it to you. And next time you play, you don't play, you play well, and I don't play well, I will share the money. And then it's not a sport, it's not a game then anymore. What is that then? It's a business. Yeah, so unfortunate. So competition is the nature of ego. It compares constantly, and that breeds jealousy, intolerance, revenge, trying to prove oneself better than others. So ego grows in comparison and competition. It enjoys judging others. Unfortunately, I had to do yesterday. I said, no, I'm not going to do. No, Swamiji, you have to do that. Who is best here? So as I said yesterday, observation, not a judgment. In judging others, it feels good about itself. This is bad. This fellow is bad. That fellow is no good. So it constantly keeping its judgment on. The switch is on all the time. And a person who is constantly judging is not happy. Why? What happened? It's not happy. So that when you judge, you're always taking sides then. You're biased. So it is constantly keeping the idea is this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. The mind is not quiet. It cannot be happy at all. It constantly looks for what's wrong everywhere. When I was studying in a hostel, and then when I was staying there, and then one friend of mine, he doesn't keep his room clean at all. Very dirty, everything everywhere, throwing here, there. I'm not a freak of clean freak. I'm not the one of that kind. But I just want everything to be having its own place. My policy is everything has a place, everything in its place. That's discipline. So I went to his room. I was so disturbed and agitated. Oh, what is this? How are you living here? What's wrong? Everything is everywhere. So it's easy, no? What do you mean easy? You cannot find it easily. No, I can. You may not find it, but I find it. I can't live there. You are not living here. Don't worry about it. So I was constantly complaining. One day he really got fed up. You really think it is bad? Yes. Then clean it. Me? Yeah, you only find it wrong and you clean it if you want. Now, I'm not saying that, oh, Swamiji, nice, you should tell my parents about this. I'm not justifying that you can throw everywhere anything in it. It is said that one mother, she got very upset because the teenager boy, he throws everything everywhere, and every time she has to clean up the house, clean up the room. So she put a note, in his room. I cleaned up your room. Next time, anything that is on the floor, I'll charge you 10 cents for everything that you put on the floor. And next day she goes, everything is on the floor again. So 1 week later, she wrote, so far I have picked up 20 items from your floor, which you have thrown. $2 worth of things. Next day when she went to his room, there was $5 on the note and said, thank you, Mom, keep it up. So bad. So I'm not saying that throwing here and there and you feel comfortable, that is right. Your judgment does not mean that you can do anything that you want and don't bother about it. What I mean by that is, when you have the cap of judgment in your head, you cannot but be critical about everything. You constantly look at others with such a critical eye, you can never be happy. You will always find something wrong with somebody. So ego constantly enjoys itself by judging others. It is extremely sensitive. It has its own pet ideas. It has its own pet impressions and pet opinions about everything. And the moment you say anything against it, it becomes extremely sensitive. It'll shrink itself immediately from you. It's like the tortoise that is moving around. The moment it finds some danger, it immediately shrinks itself into itself, right? In the same way, the ego is that which is extremely sensitive about what others think about me. Are they accepting my opinion or not? Are they accepting me or not? Are they smiling at me or not? Are they respecting me or not? Are they looking for me or not? They're constantly looking for how much I am being noticed and how much I am being wanted. Sensitive. And when it feels that somebody doesn't care, it'll shrink itself. It'll shut off itself and start becoming critical. You find it in yourself also. Somebody just ignores you. What do you do? What's your reaction? Somebody doesn't even notice your existence. What's your reaction? Huh? Yell. Why are you not looking at me? I don't think so. You don't, I don't care. Right? So either you become so arrogant, I don't care about you, or you go depression. See, both are ego only. Oh, nobody wants me. What is this? Nobody was even bothered about whether I exist or not. I'm not wanted by no one. Boom. One pill, sleep. Depression. Sleeping pill. Drugs. Why? Nobody wants me. Or on the other hand, you become extremely angry and upset and then shout and then make sure that you are heard. You demand attention. And that is the other side. That is the rajasic ego. So ego is extremely sensitive. A man of ego is constantly vulnerable to whatever is happening outside. Every person, every situation is important for it to survive. It seeks to be, as I said, noticed, to be appreciated, to be honored, to be encouraged, constantly looking for such an external stimuli. Very sensitive. Ego does not appreciate, it seeks to be appreciated. Even if a person does the right thing and everybody congratulates, this won't. Okay, I can do it. Oh, it's not great. No, everybody can do it. Why should I think that he is great? See, it doesn't want it to acknowledge something better than it exists. It doesn't acknowledge something greater can exist. That's why it even denies the existence of God. So this atheist I told you, he was very unhappy when I answered this question. Prove the existence of God. I said, God is existence. Existence is God. He was very unhappy. Then later on when we were sitting down, and he was not there, and we were all sitting there, then I said, I heard a joke somewhere. What? So in one particular school, this teacher, 3rd grade teacher, she was saying, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in existence of God. How many of you in this crowd are atheists? So, the children, 3rd grade children, they don't know anything. They really merely ape what the teacher says. So all of them raise, we are all atheists. Because they don't even know what it means. So one boy was not. He was just sitting there quietly. So the teacher went to him and said, you are not an atheist? No. I believe God. I believe in Krishna. Oh, why? Because my dad believes in Krishna, and my mom believes in Krishna, my sister believes in Krishna, I believe in Krishna. The teacher got very, very angry, If your dad is a moron, if your mom is a moron, you are a moron? No, then I will become an atheist. I didn't tell him that. He will feel very upset. So ego does not want to accept anything beyond greater of it than it can exist. Because it never wants to appreciate things, it just wants to be appreciated. So it seeks an audience, it seeks to be noticed, it is sustained by external conditions, it looks for differences, it grows in comparison and competition, it enjoys itself in judging others, sensitive, does not appreciate but wants to be appreciated. Now, recognize what's your condition. I am putting it here not for you to judge others. I think exactly, Swamiji, this person is exactly what you described. I don't want you to say that the person next to you is like that. You find out what are the traits that you have in this. To that extent, your ego is strong. Which we saw just before, it creates a self-image, an idea about itself. It keeps building it. I am this. I am this. Externally, it creates an image at the physical level. A physical image of itself. And emotionally, it also creates its own boundaries. I will be happy if this happens. That is an image. I will be unhappy if this happens. That is also another image. In other words, you are programming yourself. What is, after all, programming? It is basically where you give the parameters, right? If this happens, this will happen. If this happens, this happens. If and but, if and not, right? The flow chart you put nowadays, I don't know whether you do that. Do you? When you're writing a program, you put the flow chart. In the same way, the mind the ego is constantly putting a flow chart to itself. If this happens, I'm happy. If this happens, I will be unhappy. It's already programmed. And it lives exactly like that. And such self-programming creates a rigidity within yourself, and you are not flexible. I was watching from behind when you are doing yoga. How many of you can stand straight and bend, touching your toes without bending the knees? Swamiji, I can see, but not touch it. I can see. Some people can't even see, that's a different thing. One person was standing on a weighing scale, So, and then tucked his stomach. Wife came and said, by tucking the stomach, you are not going to become thin, The weight won't be less if you tuck your stomach. No, I'm not able to see even the weight. That is why I'm tucking my stomach. The scale is not even seen. So, when you are inflexible, you're old. I'm not joking, it is true. If you're not flexible, you're old. What is old? The state of, old age is where rigidity sets in, both in the mind and the body. When the body is rigid, you are physically old. When the mind is rigid, you are mentally old. Flexibility is health. Flexibility is youth. If maybe physically you are youthful, but your mind is not flexible, you are not able to appreciate and accept new things, you become old. A person may be physically old, but mentally very flexible. As a person, Gurudev was as I told you yesterday, such an enthusiastic, so inspiring, because mentally he was so flexible. He would often say, make your mind like a plastic. Mold it the way you want. So physical rigidity causes a lot of illness. Mental rigidity also creates a lot of illness, sickness. So a person who has created an image himself or herself has already pre-programmed oneself, cannot live with reality, cannot live in the present. Impossible for that person to live here. Why? Because he's already preconceived everything. People who are very organized people, very organized people, they live very unhappy. Because if it doesn't happen the way they want, they'll be totally, unhappy about it. Whereas you always should give possibility of change. And therefore, the mind is ready to adapt. Okay, this happens, doesn't happen, it's okay. Move. So, self-image is that which creates rigidity, inflexibility, a constant conditioning. And such an individual will be very unhappy if anything changes. And if anybody penetrates and pokes into the self-image, he'll be extremely defensive. We'll see that how a defensive ego works. Ego strives to complete itself by possession. More it possesses, more better, more stronger it feels. I have more and I have more than you. So possessing more, it finds itself more strong. And that is the reason why we fear death. The death is, see, anything that you don't know, there is a certain amount of fear. That is one aspect of our fear. The other aspect of fear is we lose what we have. That's the major fear we have about death. When you are transferred from this place to another place, let us say you have to move from one city to another. Suddenly there is a transfer that comes to you, you have to go. You are unhappy not because you are going to go away, because you are unhappy because you are going to lose what you have. Losing itself, losing its possessions, losing its identity, losing what it already owns, it has to let go. That is the reason why when we enter into our ashram, first thing they do is to shave our head. I remember when I first joined our ashram in Bombay, and then when the barber came to shave our head, we were very, very unhappy because we were so particular about certain kinds of style of hair and whatever not. Very unhappy. Nobody wanted to go to him. But it's a rule, you have to shave your head. Very reluctantly we went and shaved our head. And then we found it is so easy to maintain. Get into the shower, get out. Nothing need to be done. Go in and come out. Happy. No need for oil and comb and this and that. And no need to go even near to the mirror at all. Next time when he came, lined up people. Come on, I go first. So the image that you create, is not only about yourself but also what you own, what you possess, where your identities are. More things you possess, your identity becomes more stronger and stronger and stronger. And then everything is lost or taken away, to that extent the ego feels hurt because it's extended itself to so many things. It's interesting to note that matter never wants us. We want the matter, is it not? Your car ever says, come on, come on, come on. Does it say? Or you walk away, oh, you're going away from me. Your computer doesn't cry. Is it not so strange? We intelligent human beings are caught up with things which do not even have life. I read in one, somebody sent me a joke. 4 people are sitting in the same house, in a couch. The boy says, I have iPhone. The girl says, I have iPod. The wife says, I have iPad. The man sitting there, I paid. So all that we own, they own us. So there is one great saint who lived in the past. He said in his composition, he has written a poetry, and he says, We don't own things. Things own us. Time doesn't go. You go in time. So he says that Kalo nayati vayamevayataha. Time doesn't go. You go in time. Bhogo na bhokta vayameva bhoktaha. We are not enjoying things. Things are enjoying us. When you are taking a sir, it is enjoying you. It's written very clearly. Don't smoke. It causes cancer. I understand. What do you understand? It's written there. But do you understand that? You can't help it. So ego survives in possessing more and more, and it identifies itself with that. And when it is lost, ego suddenly feels very weak. It wants more of things. It wants it to be strengthened with identifying with matter more and more. This is very clearly seen among many of the friends. They're trying to control others. Ego is strongly expressing itself in controlling others' lives. One of the very important feature of ego is it feels great when people listen to it. Authority. You find that when you're coming from somewhere, from other country, and then get into, immigration area, that guy who's wearing a badge, you see his face. He feels so great because he has authority. You or you be, unless I give permission, you cannot get into this country. Even when you're driving, let's say you're overspeeding, when the cop stops you, how are you, sir? Morning. This is hey, morning. Why that? I have now the authority. Is it not true? So yesterday I was telling somebody, one lady was driving very fast. Cop stopped. Ma'am, you're going fast. You're driving over the speed limit. Do you see that? Yeah. What happened? She said, I have to bury this body. Body? Whose body? My husband's body was just there behind, in the trunk. Your husband's body in the trunk? Yeah. What happened? I just killed him. You killed him? Yeah, I have the weapons. And she said, hey, wait, come out, please. Ma'am, please come out. Both your hands up, come out. Open them. Stand there. And then he immediately called his senior officers, And then all the senior officers came there. Yes, ma'am, where is the body? The senior officer went to her and said, come on, where's the body? Please open the trunk. She said, what body? Your husband's body. He's at home. But is he not dead? Why should he be dead? Did you not kill him? What do you mean by that? I didn't kill anybody. Don't you have a weapon? Who said to you? No, this officer said that you have a weapon, and he said that I have a body in the trunk. Yes. That I killed. Yes. And I have a weapon. Yes. And he said I am overspeeding also. Yes. That is how you escape from tickets. So when the police officer comes, why is he showing that because that authority, control, I can dictate what it's going to be now. That is an expression of ego. I'm not saying that police officer has the ego, but I'm giving and drawing an example. Ego tries to control. In controlling, it's strong. Women control by crying. Somebody claps it. That's another form of control, I can make you dance to my tune by crying. That's also control. Any form of control is ego. There is an authority. There is something I decide which you can't. I decide the situation. You see? Ego survives in controlling others. Let's stop here because time 7:32. Something seriously wrong somewhere. Is it what? Time is what? 10:22. Questions? We'll continue in the second session, then next session. What time is the next session? When is the next session? 4 o'clock, right? 4 to 5:30. Huh? Oh, 3:35, okay. Questions? Up to this point, yes.
Yeah, like lunch in the sleep, and then wake up, coffee.
No, there is nothing. I'm just giving an example of legitimate authority. Obviously, it is given to that person so that he can exercise that. Fine. But ego also is that which tries to show that it has a power. And it tries to do that. So I don't mean by legitimate authority, it doesn't mean ego. But ego has the ability it tries to overpower others. And example is like that of a cop is trying to prove his authority over you. The ego tries to prove authority on others.
In the chapter we read, the entire talks about how there's a wise voice in your head and you need to kind of channel that. So when we talk about how the mind is constantly chattering, sometimes I notice there's kind of the better voice in my head saying, hey, don't think like that, it's not good. Is that still the ego or is that something else?
See, the mind can be of two different levels. Gurudev used to call it as the one which decides is intellect, one which blabbers is mind. So you can call that as an intellect, but not necessarily another form of ego. But intellect is an informed part of your mind, which has the ability to decide what is right and what is wrong. So probably you are referring to that. The intellect which is informed, which is thinking, not just emoting or feeling or blabbering. But what he refers there is a different thing. He says there is a witness within you which is usually absent, usually overpowered. That observing nature of your own self is usually overpowered by the restless mind. So once in a while, in meditation especially, you become an observer. Strengthen that part of your mind, that part of your personality. Then, even when the mind is restless and doing all the sort of things, you can shift your attention to the observer mode.
But that's different from the intellect, right?
You can say it is a higher level of the intellect itself, but it doesn't judge, it just observes. See, the moment you have the observer in you, the mind becomes quieter, calm, because there is somebody watching. When nobody is watching, it becomes it's just scot-free. So I can't.
So we talked about how the ego likes to judge, but we gave a lot of negative examples of judgment. Does it also refer to positive judgment?
Like what?
We talked about praising is good or building other people up is good. Is that judgment also? Is that my ego if I'm complimenting people with them?
See, the judgment is good so long as you do not get caught up in the judgment. Let us say that I say this is right. And you tell somebody also, hey, don't do this, this is not good for you, this is right, not right. And that person says, who cares? Are you hurt? If you are hurt, the judgment came from your ego. If you are not hurt, the judgment came from your maturity, from your wisdom. See, like Krishna also finally says to Arjuna, now I've told you everything what I need to tell you, now it's up to you to decide. Now, it doesn't say you should listen to me only and nobody else. If that is the case, obviously that is coming from ego. If the judgment comes from that standpoint where I told you what is right, now it's up to you to decide that. So then that is a wise approach to the same thing.
In the preface of the text, there's a line that says, the Gita's plea to humanity is to become soul-realized egos instead of ego-realized souls. So the more I read it, the more confused I'm getting. Can you just expand on it or explain it?
So, to be simply put, soul-realized ego versus ego-realized soul. Is that what you're asking about, right? Which is right? Which one?
Soul-realized egos.
Okay, not ego-realized soul.
That's what the text is saying, but the more I think about it,
Yeah, it is like, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, a great saint, he said, a salt doll, okay, it is so proud of itself until it jumps into the water. A doll made of salt, it is so strong and about itself until it jumps into the water. What happens? It dissolves, right? Meaning its identity is lost. In the same way, a soul-realized ego, no more ego there, it is merged and dissolved into that soul. Soul here means the higher soul here, what do you mean? Than the ego-realized soul, which is what we are. We are caught up in that individual identity, like a salt doll. So when you jump into the water, you become soul-realized ego. Yes?
You mentioned earlier that the ego thoroughly enjoys manifesting competition, but how can you compete effectively without becoming a slave to your ego?
See, competition, as I said, can be to prove yourself to yourself than proving to anybody else. See, I could do, let us say, X. I can do more than this. This is you challenge yourself to yourself. That's better than I want to prove that person is wrong, or that she is wrong and he is wrong. I am right. That is what comparative competition. Comparing competition is where you compare yourself with others and compete. Whereas you self-compete yourself. I have done this much, I can do more. There, there's no comparison. Comparison is within yourself. And therefore, the challenge is yourself. Sri Krishna says in Uddhared Atmana Atmanam, you challenge yourself. Don't challenge with others. Because you challenging with others, you are always saying, okay, let us say if 5 people can do less than you, that doesn't mean you are better because those fellows are useless. Doesn't mean that you are great. It's it's called in a city of blind, a one-eyed man is a king. It's a usual saying, in a country of blindness, a one-eyed man is a king. You want to be like that? No. Just better than others? No. You prove, and then if you are just better than others around you, you stop because I'm already there. But if you challenge yourself, you constantly move forward. You don't stop. So instead of comparative competition, you self-challenge yourself. So that is not ego. So competition continues, but not with others. Yes?
Swamiji, my question is not 100% related to what we just talked about, but I'm very curious about it. In the Shanti mantra, we pray to Mitra, Indra, Vayu, a lot of more basic deities. And then later on, in these stories, in the Bhagavatam and Puranas, you learn Indra represents the ego, can Swamiji talk a little bit about just how that works and what the relationship is to these deities?
See, in the beginning stages of human observation, they considered anything non-human as a phenomena of the divine nature. Fire, air, water, rain, sun, moon, seasons, wind. Because they understood that it's not created by human beings. So they attributed that to a higher power, divine power. While therefore, when they developed the thought that Indra, which is the power of productivity, fire, Agni, Vayu, air, Varuna, rain, all these are all worthy of worship because without whom we cannot survive. All these are necessary. Therefore, it is apparently all these powers are able to make us survive. So we need to be grateful to them. So all the yajna, yagas, all those things are created based upon that premise. Then they have observed that these powers are not acting against each other. Most of the time they cohesively work. And unless they work cohesively, we cannot exist. If they are showing their own powers over others, we'll be destroyed. They are working so closely with each other and making it everything happen so cohesively, and because of which we can survive. So what is that which makes everything work cohesively? Then they had the concept of Ishwar. Ishwar, the God, is one who is making sure that all of them work under that power. So then the concept of worshipping Ishwara started, Hiranyagarbha. So they thought that there is something beyond them who is making it all happen. This concept of Ishvara in a different plane became a deity. And they called him as Krishna or Narayana or Shiva and whatever it is. So Shiva Puran or the Bhagavatam, etc., are to show the glory of that one under whom all these things function. So even though these are all powers, but they are not ultimate powers. They are not called purity. They have authority, but not purity. So therefore, they are also of a certain amount of ego. So they show it as Indra has some ego, he fights with somebody else and things like that. The stories are woven around that concept. And Krishna is shown to be the one who is controlling all of them, or Narayana is shown to be controlling all of them. So the thought development took place that way. Yes?
Isn't the concept of vasana interchangeable with the ego? Meaning, aren't we born with pre-existing impressions that lead to an ego?
True. So pre-existing impressions, which are called vasanas, are expressing as our deep desires, deep demands. And the ego, no doubt, is a product of these existing impressions, surely so. And these impressions only are making us identify with any one of this or all of this. So in this particular chart, yes, vasanas represent the deep-rooted impressions which give birth to the ego, individual ego. So in Vedanta, we talk about eliminating this ego as the means to liberation. In many other contexts, that is referred as elimination of ego. Yes, it's an image that these impressions create, and their expression in the form of identifying with the body, with the mind, with the intellect, is the individual ego about the body, ego about the mind, ego about the intellect. So we have Shastra Vasana. Let us say you have a great desire to study more and more and more and more. Then you have that Vasana expressing as identification with the intellect. So, and then...
I just wanted to get perspective on that, because the problem with the ego is not just something that's of present, it's something that's existed in the past as well, that's solidified.
No, ego is not a particular entity as such, it is an expression. So just like, as I said, if you have vasana over, I want to be looking good, so that expresses as the ego with the body, identification. Are we done? Yes.
So I'm just saying that like a 1-year-old or 2-year-old does not have an ego, but that 1 or 2-year-old still has a whole collection of vasanas.
Yes, it has not yet started expressing it. It is the equipments are not equipped enough to express them. So eventually, when the child grows up, it'll start expressing it. At this point, there is no ego. Vasanas are there, but not an ego. It does not have the channel to express. Okay, so you have next session is your reading and reflection with Madam Prince and the library. Then you have discussion with Dumbledore and lunch with courtesy of house elves and Quidditch tournament. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om.